Good morning. I'm just making sure everything's working. I'm not sure that it is. Oh, it is. But I didn't get a warning this time. Instagram. What has been happening up until now is I'd get a warning. Do you really want to be on Instagram? What does it mean when they're giving you warnings like that? Like, should I be reconsidering? Anyway, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday. It happens every week, but today is special because it's the last show of the week because I'm not here tomorrow. But today is still here, and we are going to answer your traffic and police questions. That's what we do here every single day that we're live. We're broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and, of course, the platform formerly known as Twitter, now called X, which, since we're mentioning it, seems to be working with the whole chat business. If you don't watch us live, or if you would like to watch us in other formats, know that we are rebroadcasting. We take the live stream and we upload it to podcast platforms so that you can watch it while you drive. No, let me rephrase. So you can listen to it while you drive, because watching it while you drive would be illegal. Distracted driving. We're not promoting that. Sounded good for a second. Not a good idea. I mean, if you're a passenger, you could do it. The deal is that you don't burn data, and if you are watching it on the video version, which is on Spotify, but if you're watching it or listening to it on any other platform, it's audio only. Still get your details while you cruise. I hope everyone had a great day. I hope everyone's having, has plans for a good weekend. Mine doesn't have anything terribly exciting going on, other than I have some stuff and things to do. But I will say, with all these holidays, this whole season of not being here full time, I kind of like the idea of a long weekend every weekend. Sadly, I can't maintain this, but just saying, it's nice. Today, we will be joined by Jerry Agar from News Talk 1010, the Jerry Agar Show. They're going to pop in around 10:30, so it's just you and me until then, and then they'll come in for 10 or 15 minutes, and then out they go and back to you and me. So if you've got traffic and police questions, this is how you get answers. You ask the question, we answer it, we move on to the next. Of course, if you've got dad jokes, we like to hear those. Send them into the comments. And what else can I tell you? I don't know. We'll just see what happens. I am Boy Mom. I see you. Although I don't see a lot of people in the stream on TikTok. Maybe it hasn't refreshed yet. I put out a video. Did anyone see the video from yesterday where I asked Alan Richson if he wants to come to the studio? Does anyone know who Alan Richson is? Yeah. If you don't, you need to. Well, I'll wait for the comments, but he plays on television a particular character. He's been in movies too. Okay, let's see what's going on here. We've got some greetings and salutations from our friend Akela. He's also provided a quote of the day. So and a dad joke. Oh, he's knocking it out. He's got everything going on. We've got Big Jeff Fresh with a good morning. We've got Tim Shallow with a good morning. Liz, of course, is here. It's good morning. It's Friday Eve. Yes, this is technically our Friday show done Thursday. And I am Boy Mom coming in from TikTok, the lone TikToker this morning, with a good morning to Sean and M. Shap. And that's my wife. Not Boy Mom, but M. Shap is. Okay, LJ says, good morning, Sean. Looking forward to another great show. Anything from facilities on the new table? I have not heard anything. I will have to follow, but that's my fault. I should have reached out to them. But I did finish editing an episode of TPS Traffic Jam, which will play tomorrow at 10 a.m. It'll come out as the live stream. Since I won't be here, we'll have that episode. It's about 35 or 40 minutes of awesomeness talking to Deputy Chief Larry Coco about lithium-ion batteries on and e-bikes and e-kick scooters and things like that. Oddly enough, New Year's Eve, a e-bike went up in flames on the TTC. Not fun, but it's perfect timing based on the fact that we have some educational material to share on this. And just editing takes some time. I wanted to include some video assets, some stuff and things to make it better. So I finally got that done this morning. And then I ran to get changed into uniform and then came to the screen to talk to y'all. Okay, we've got some questions. What are the consequences for 13 counts of mischief? That's a good question. I have to look up what the criminal code range is for what they can do, but 13 times whatever they want to do. that's not an area where I've had a lot of experience, so I can't speak to it. Like, I don't have experience in court with mischief charges and watching them go through. Most of what I've done in my career has been traffic related outside of the first year or so as a guy at 12 Division, year and a half, something like that. But even in court, I don't remember, because I used to be a court officer. I used to watch these things, but I don't remember everything. We got a question here, and it's a little out of order. Is Waze illegal? No, Waze, the app, is not illegal unless you're sitting there punching in destinations, but that could be any GPS app. You can't touch your phone unless it's mounted, and even then, you can't do anything other than answer or hang up, because if you're adding destinations to your GPS app on your phone, you're using your phone. That's illegal. That's distracted driving. Water. I've needed that. You know when you take the sip of water and you can feel it, like hydrating, like you can actually feel it trickle down? It's like magic. Oh, Brandon comes in and says, good morning. I'm only able to watch for a bit as I'm teaching first aid. I hope you have an awesome weekend. Thank you so much. We've got, okay, what do we got here? A cool user, or 2304 user says, cool, thank you. That's in response to the question about Waze. Yeah. Let's go back to what we were talking about here. We've got, ATM says, I just found out radar detectors are legal in BC. Is that true? If so, could you break it down? Well, I know they are legal in many places, and I believe BC is one of them. Check with your local police to confirm. They are not legal in Ontario, and rightfully, I don't know why anyone would make it legal. There should be no radar detector or device to prevent police from measuring your speed and enforcing safety laws. So I wouldn't get one just on moral purpose. Like, I just don't think they're right. What you should really do is just not speed. Because it's not about not getting caught. It's about not hurting anybody. Yeah, it's bad. There was a couple folks in the comments asking about, could you high beam somebody? And really, if we're talking about sharing information, high beaming someone is no different than having a radar detector. Well, it is in terms of law, and you can't get a ticket for sharing information that way. Yeah, you could get a ticket for using your high beams at night. They were saying, well, just a flick, just a flick of the high beams. But what you're doing is getting someone to temporarily change their behavior. And it's the same thing about having a radar detector. You change your behavior temporarily to avoid being caught and being held responsible. And then you go back to doing whatever was dangerous prior to. But what happens when someone gets notified, changes their behavior, goes back to what they were doing, and then hurts somebody? The problem is the behavior, not the avoiding detection so much. It's just don't do the bad thing. Don't do the wrong thing. Follow the rules. And people hate rules. Or they like rules for everybody else, but not for them. Yeah. I get it. Nobody likes to be told what to do. And my job is to tell everybody what to do. It's kind of what I do. A lot. CEO of No is what they used to call me. A badge of honor, I say. Good morning. Is it okay to drive on any highway or is it okay to drive any highway with a G2? Yes. You're basically you are a licensed driver. You have conditions, and you need to complete a test to be permanent, but you're a conditional licensed driver. I'm going to go with that terminology. You can go anywhere. The only restrictions you have, other than having a zero blood alcohol content, you cannot have drugs or alcohol while you're driving, or in your system. When you are out and about between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., in the first year you have conditions, and they relate to people under the age of 20 that are not your immediate family. You can have no more than one of them between those hours in the first 6 months and no more than 3 in the second 6 months. And that's sort of to prevent you from having unwanted distractions and so on while you're driving, I would assume, although no one's ever actually told me what it was. That guy, Powell, says he gave himself a burn. Okay. That's interesting. Let's see here. LJ says, I'm sure it'll look great when it gets here. Having a chat with guests all together is always interesting. Yes, this is about the table. Even in the podcast, I just took a fold-up table through it's that table behind me. I used that table for the podcast, and it is what it is. Let's see here. Braden says, so relatable. Thank you. I don't know what we're talking about or what you were talking about when you said that, but I appreciate all positive comments. By Joe says, I have a G2 test tomorrow and I can't drive the car to the exam, so how do I take the test? If you don't have a car, you don't take the test. You need to come with a car. You can talk to a driving school if you do not have access to a car, and you can, although it's short notice, you can try and book a driving instructor to take it to the test. Hello. Sergeant Campbell is arriving. We were just discussing the fact that we've got Jerry Agar coming onto the show, and at about 10:30, 10:35, he'll be on air. And we are, what else are we doing?
I don't know.
Yeah. We're talking about
G2.
G2 test. You know what I didn't do? I didn't talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Well, let me get that out of the way. See, Vision Zero Enforcement Team is a group of officers that go out every day across the streets of Toronto looking to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They do a pretty good job.
They actually do a very good job.
They write a lot of tickets.
They do. And that's not their goal, but their goal is to identify the ones that are really, really putting everybody at risk by using cell phones, by stunt driving, and all those types of things, and catching those people.
Yeah, they look for the big four. So speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, impaired driving, those are the offenses that we know lead to serious injury and death, and we have them focus on that because they can make the biggest change by focusing on those.
And they're called the Vision Zero Enforcement Team because Vision Zero is our goal to have a 0 injuries and death.
It's a good goal.
It is.
And the whole deal is that there's an acknowledgement that minor collisions will happen, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are preventable and unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Now, today, being the 4th of January, they are in 14 Division and 43 Division. That doesn't mean they won't be anywhere else. That's the areas of focus. Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, Bendale, Woburn, Highland Creek, West Hill, Guildwood. Those are neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. So that's where they're going to hang out. Now, Evandro's on Instagram. Sadly, there's no integration for chat for Instagram, even though we're broadcasting there. And he's leaving some messages there, so I will try and have a look there when there's questions.
Did you finish up the G2 one?
The G2 question was, how do I get to do my G2 test if I can't use the car tomorrow? That's the question.
Oh, you need a car.
Yes, but my understanding is you can go to a driving school, call and book an instructor who could maybe give you a little bit of a preamble and then take you to the test, and you can use their car. They do
like
do
a
that.
Great idea.
It is the only way that I know. Or I guess if you know G1, you can't rent the car. The only option you have is a driving instructor or someone to take you.
And if somebody else was to rent a car for you, you wouldn't be able to drive it because that's not included in your rental agreement.
Yes. I acknowledge that this whole graduate licensing program makes it difficult for people who are new and have no access to anyone. Like, how do you get driving experience as a G1 if you don't know anybody in the country? Yep. It's a problem. I totally acknowledge that. And that's where you get into driving schools, which I think everyone should utilize, but that's a large investment for some people and it may not be an option.
It's a very small investment in the overall grand scheme of things.
100%.
When it becomes you're a better driver, you're not getting in collisions, you're not hurting yourself or other people.
It's just about I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes, going, that's a whole lot of money. It could be $2,000. It could be that's the kind of money. There may be cheaper options, but it could be a lot of money for some people, for most people, and things are just more expensive these days. In general. We were talking earlier about BC. They had just found out that BC has radar detector or allows radar detectors. And I got into the whole, how much I dislike them because I really don't like them. Is it Shot A? Is that Shot A?
Yeah, I'd say.
Was that not a musical performer, and that's the way she spelled it, right? So, okay, hopefully I didn't incorrectly pronounce your name. They want to know if changing the music while driving is illegal. Depends.
I was about to say, depends.
Funny how that works.
Yep. Depends on where you're changing your music. Depends if it is a built-in system in your car. Depends if you are distracted or careless while doing it. So, yes, on your phone, absolutely unlawful.
Now, what you can do, and many people don't realize, is you can say, hey, Google, or hey, Siri, and it will wake up and you can say, next song, play this artist, play my favorite playlist. It'll do all those things. I mean, at home on my HomePod, I tell it to raise the volume and lower the volume. I don't have to touch anything.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's legal. Now, talking to your digital assistant, if it's not exactly listening to you, can be very frustrating, and I've often yelled and screamed at my phone. But, until you get to that point, it's pretty good. Yeah. So you've got options, and touching your phone isn't one of them. If you have a DUI, can you drive an e-scooter? Funny, you mentioned that. I got a staff sergeant to be who's messaging me. I'm just responding. I'm live streaming. I pre-programmed. I'm live streaming. Come watch online. So, can you drive an e-scooter? That was the question.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's under the Criminal Code of Canada. It's a motor vehicle, and the prohibition or the disqualification you're going to get for having a DUI is going to preclude you under the criminal code. And I would say you cannot drive an e-scooter.
So at the period of time, and this is how I read it, the period of time where your driver's license is under suspension, the 90-day mandatory license suspension right off the bat, you would be able to operate it because there's an exemption allowing non-licensed people to operate that electric motor vehicle as long as it falls within the guidelines.
The pilot.
As soon as it is outside of that, then no, it's a prohibited drive.
Right.
If you are prohibited from driving because of a criminal code conviction after you go to court, then no, you couldn't because it's still a motor vehicle.
So just to break it down.
The only exemption is for a license plate, insurance, and a driver's license. That's the only exemption for it.
Under the criminal code, it is different than the Highway Traffic Act. The prohibition, the 90-day administrative suspension is an HTA suspension. It is different, and it would all fall behind the descriptions and definitions there. Now, the Sarge talked about the fact that there are legislation or pilot programs. An e-scooter, if it's an e-scooter, like we're talking e-kick scooter, it cannot be capable of going more than 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, cannot have a motor more than 500 watts, cannot have a seat attached, cannot carry cargo. There's rules. If you're talking about an e-bike, cannot go more than 32 kilometers an hour, cannot have more than 500 watts motor, unless it falls as a cargo e-bike, which has different rules, and still can't go more than 32 kilometers an hour, but because it carries cargo, it can have a bigger motor. And as long as it conforms with those, and it's the 90-day, absolutely, I agree with you. I went straight to the DUI conviction, and the conviction is different because the definition is different under the criminal code.
Yeah, absolutely. Under the criminal code, it's any motor vehicle. Doesn't matter whether there's an
Anything
exemption
other
for...
than muscular power.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Doesn't matter if there's an exemption for this pilot program.
Yeah.
So there. The trick to that one is do not get a DUI.
Well, and that shouldn't be a trick because you should not get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle with any alcohol or drugs in your system. Make good plans.
Yep.
We saw a whole bunch of people, and one of the things I have to do this afternoon is film the video, which is the wrap-up from New Year's. But I think it was 23 or 25 people that were arrested over the New Year's long weekend. It was the 26th for the Christmas long weekend. It's just too many. And we'll go over stats. We're talking 20. Oh, at the time that I was interviewed by the CBC, I think it was 2,340 charges laid over the year. That's just too many people who are doing stupid things.
I don't think, and I know that we have a lot of people on here that have different opinions about some of the laws out there. I don't think there's one person out there that thinks that impaired driving is a smart thing or should be allowed.
Well,
because it just kills people.
Sure. But so does distracted driving. Both things should not be happening. Listen, there are people who have excuses for everything. Well, it's an emergency. Well, I need the car for work tomorrow. Well, it's only close to home. I can't tell you how many times we hear from people who say, you know, their friend's daughter left a party a kilometer from home and never came home. Like just so many stories of heartache and tragedy. But let's move on. Harmighty says, good morning. I had you on screen before. I'll put you back there. And then Sean says, I think it's Sean. Yes. I have a radar detector in my car. How much is the ticket? If you're in Ontario, not only will you be losing the device because we're going to seize it. We have the authority to search the vehicle, everything within it, including the persons. And it's a $180 ticket and 3 demerit points, I believe. For some reason, this one, I either say it's 170 or 180 and 2 or 3, and they dance around in my brain. It's one of those, but I think it's 180 and 3.
It is 180 and 3.
Okay, I'm glad. Because actually I said it correctly then. He hate me is the username. Cops can lie to suspects, but it's wrong to flick the headlights. Okay. We're talking, the flicking the headlights is the concept of warning people of speed traps to prevent them from being caught. Lying to suspects, undercover officers can do things. There's permission to be less than forthright at times.
We have to be we are obligated to be truthful in certain things and provide you certain correct information. But other times, if there's no obligation there or no lawful reason to, can we use trickery? The courts have upheld that, yes, especially undercover officers.
Yeah. And it's not to dupe you into breaking the law. It's to catch you, criminal activity doer, for doing what you're doing. You're choosing to do it. We're not tricking you into crime. We're not entrapping you. But if you're choosing to engage in criminal activity, we really need to be able to do what we need to do to catch you.
But undercover stuff is totally different from what we're talking about on the road or traffic laws or anything like that.
Yeah,
so you will not find an officer out there that is lying to you while enforcing traffic laws.
There's nothing to lie about. And for the folks who think that, well, cops can just say you're going any speed, we could, but that would flush ourselves down the toilet, because you could bring evidence that would totally show us as lying. Like, it just wouldn't be worth ruining my good name on getting you a $20 ticket or a $100 ticket for that matter. It doesn't matter. I don't get commission. I don't make extra money for it. All I want to do is keep people safe. I have no motivation to ruin my career or just to give you a ticket just to be I was going to use a word I'm not going to use, but just to be a not nice guy. Like, there's no reason to do it. So for people who are walking around saying cops lie and give speeding tickets to people who don't deserve them, no, that's baloney. It just is. And in terms of flicking the headlights, that's a moral thing. Why are you helping people make the roads less safe? I know I've said this already once before because somebody else sort of brought it up and I went off on a tangent. Okay.
And if you flick your headlights, there's an HGA charge for it.
Because you can't use your high beams within 170 meters oncoming, 180 meters, 60 from rear, 150 from front.
There you go.
Okay. So many numbers. Okay. Are police scanners illegal? I see them all the time on expensive cars on YouTube, but not sure. I used to have one. I had a scanner because we used to have open, unencrypted channels. Yep. They were trunking, so there was an array of channels, and every time they pressed a button, it would be a different channel, so you had to have one that was programmed properly. But they're not illegal.
No, not at all.
But we also encrypt now, so there's nothing to listen to.
We do.
Not everyone.
We do. Other police services don't. Fire services don't. Ambulance services don't. No, you can have one totally. Now, are you going to use it in your car? As long as you're not playing with it.
Set it and forget it.
While you're driving, then no problem.
Mike says Bluetooth, and I'm sure this is in connection with it, using your phone legally. Bluetooth is a great option. In fact, with Bluetooth, whether it be wired, like with Auto CarPlay and whatnot, that's usually wired. They have wireless versions as well. You can use all the controls on your steering wheel to answer and hang up. It's so much safer.
In my motorcycle, I have a Bluetooth set in my helmet.
Nice.
And I can talk to it, and I can fast forward, rewind.
Does it answer?
Answer calls, hang up calls. I can do everything without.
Have you ever asked Siri to tell you a joke?
No, because I'm not an Apple person.
Well, you have an Apple.
I do have an Apple. Yes, I don't like using it.
But
my work phone's an Apple, and my personal phone is the better Android.
Well, you can be wrong sometimes. Let's see here. I just because I think it's neat. Tell me a joke.
I decided to take up fencing, but my neighbors told me to put it back.
So we have gone hours of tell me a knock-knock joke, and it'll ask you, and you have to respond to the prompts. And my kids love this while we drive. If we're on road trips, we'll at least do 20 minutes of knock-knock jokes with Siri. So what I'm getting at is it can do so much more than people give it credit for. Controlling your music is just one of those things. Illegal U-turn before what is this? Oh, this is for a ride program. If we're doing ride programs and you do a U-turn, is that what we're talking about? I think that's what we're talking about. So illegal U-turn on its own is probably a clue that you're doing something that needs to be investigated. I
think that it's a question, is it illegal to do a U-turn?
Before a check stop?
Yes.
So if the check stops, is it illegal specifically? I don't think there's an offense for it. It's just a clue to be investigated.
I guarantee you, and as a ride supervisor out there, somebody who sets up ride spot checks, most times I have somebody sitting in a non-uniform car just a little ways away for exactly that. You self-identify yourself to the officers as somebody who does not want, because they may be hiding something.
We call it a clue.
I think you're going to get pulled over.
Yes. Don't do that.
And a lot of times those are all the people we catch are those ones doing that.
Oddly,
There are occasions.
it is so weird. We have, what are the consequences for one stunt driving at 180 kilometers an hour and a race charge? Oddly enough, racing and stunting is under the same section. I didn't see
No,
it.
you could.
Is there a race separate charge?
So 150 is the maximum. If you do that's an offense to exceed 150. Race charge, both stunt, but could be a separate charge.
Oh, interesting. I've never thought of weighing it separately. The deal is that the consequences for stunt driving are, on your first conviction, $2,000 to $10,000, a 1 to 3 year prohibition, and up to 6 months in jail. On a second charge, I don't know if those would work if they get two charges. If you have two convictions for the same offense, if it would work there, but that could be 3 to 10 years suspension, and additionally $2,000 to $10,000 and up to 6 months in jail. And of course, if you do it a third time, you're looking at a lifetime ban, and the same.
And good luck getting insurance.
Yeah, that your rates might be a little bit higher. I am Boy Mom says, good morning to the good sergeant. That really stuck, the good sergeant business.
Yeah. Well, good morning.
And Thin White Line Interceptor, a.k.a. Ryan, sends us a comma. And I don't know why.
It's to make you pause.
There you go. Take a breath. He wants us to pace ourselves. 9 Live says, not y'all normalizing the cops. They must be so bored they need to go live. This is our tax money. So I love when people open this door because I walk right through it. This is the most cost-effective way to spend time with a whole bunch of people making content that is educational. We are helping lots of people. Now, how many people are in the live now? How many people were on the live yesterday? We're looking at, on average, 5 to 10,000 people these days. Prior to the algorithm shift, we used to have live streams of up to 40,000 people. So obviously there's an interest in knowing what we talk about. Now, I saw a video yesterday, or a live stream, where someone was demoing technology where they beam you into a hologram box. It's just, they've been talking about this for a while. So you can do presentations that looks like you're really there in a box. They had 6,000 people in the live. We're not that channel. But for the people who want to know stuff, we provide information that obviously people want to know because they're asking questions. And is it taxpayer money? Yeah, I'm being paid for it. I'm here.
And on top of that, hopefully, we're saving you money, because if you are not sure on something and you want to ask, we'll let you know. And then you don't have to go out there and get caught and have to pay a ticket.
I like to say, if you want to know stuff before you do stuff so you don't get caught doing stuff, being charged for doing stuff, then you should follow this channel. So if you are not following this channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit follow, share, like, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, because we're on a bunch of them. And for TikTok in particular, please like the live. Hit that screen so your fingers go numb. It really helps. I don't ask people to do it very often. I should, but I forget, and we just move through things. Let's see here. Why can't we check our phones at a red light? Because the law says you can't. You're driving. It says you're driving. Driving is being in control of a motor vehicle.
And being aware of your surroundings, what pedestrians may be walking up, may not be walking up, what is crossing in front of you, what blew in front of you, if it's a garbage can that you can't see all of a sudden now, you're not paying attention. And it upsets me when I'm behind you when the light goes green and I sit there and sit there and sit there and then have to blow my horn to wake you up because you're too busy looking at...
You're interfering with traffic.
At us on
TikTok. Yeah, it's a problem. Mind you, there are people who have done that, but it is your responsibility, your sole responsibility when behind the wheel of a motor vehicle is to be safe. You're listening for sirens. You're looking for hearing or looking for things that are happening around you. Paying attention to changes. You look down, you look up. There could be somebody in your blind spot now. Like, it's just, you need to be switched on when you're driving, or don't drive. Simple as that. Checking your phones at lights. Maybe some places wouldn't do it. Like, maybe other jurisdictions wouldn't enforce it. I can't speak for them. Maybe other states or provinces make it lawful, but it's not here. $615 fine, 3 demerit points, 3-day suspension on conviction.
Pull over to the side in a safe parking area.
Legal parking.
Put your car in park. You don't have to switch it off. Put it in park so it's not able to be set in motion. Look at your phone. Get back to driving.
Chase says, now that Frank has his own TikTok account, how long until a VOC and Frank Sloop collab? So I'd love for that. Have you watched Frank? Fridays with Frank? Frank Sloop, he's a deputy sheriff. Is he in Texas or Arizona? I forget now. But I follow the main channel on the other account. But that's fantastic. If he's got his own channel, a collab should definitely happen.
I like it.
If I was on the road, I'd be doing what he's doing because he is awesome.
And I'm sure his surname, he gets an awful lot of Sloopy.
From the song?
No, Sloopy from his last name.
Yeah.
Kind of close to mine. My nickname at
Oh.
one point was Soupy.
Well, that makes sense. We'll have to talk about it when we do our collab.
There we go.
2002, Acura MDX says, what's the fine for having more people than there are seatbelts in the car? Well, there's a seatbelt charge for the person who's not wearing the seatbelt if they're over 16, or you or the driver gets that. Is it $240, I believe, for each one? But there's also a ticket for having too many people, and I don't recall offhand what that is. More people than seatbelts. Let's have a quick look.
Yeah, so the driver is liable for it, and anybody over the age of 16 is also liable for not wearing their seatbelt as well. So you can get it as a driver, and your passengers can get it as well. And you get all of it if people are under 16.
Yeah, and which is all the more fun because only one court date.
I'm going to remind you it's 10:30.
I'm waiting for them to pop in. That'll be a nice alert. We're going to have Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010 pop in. That's the plan. A lot of people are sending me messages today. I can't find it. Where is it? Did you renew your thing?
I did.
Okay, well, I'll let you look at it while I mention this. What was I going to mention? Oh, a lot of people sending me messages saying, hey, are the laws changed? Did the prices go up? Is it all? I have not been able to confirm any of this information, but it is not unusual for the MTO not to tell the police about changes in law.
What are we talking about here?
So I got an Instagram message, and a whole bunch of people in the comments are asking. Apparently, it's circulating that there's new laws in Canada when it comes to fines for seatbelt and HOV and child in car seat. I can't find anything like that in Ontario. I've searched the Ontario website. I've searched their media release gallery. They talk about towing and changes, but that's the only thing.
I know there's an awful lot more legislation enacted for towing, but other than that, I haven't heard of any changes in the HTA at all.
Yeah, no, I've not either. Maybe it's proposed. It's very possible that it's proposed. We do. Oh, here's News Talk popping in. Hello, News Talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, great.
What are we looking at? 4 minutes?
Yes, we'll be up in 4 minutes.
Would you mind giving me a 30-second heads up in the private chat window whenever when we're 30 seconds out?
Yes, I will.
I appreciate it. Thanks. And if we can have no radio noise in the meantime, we'll just leave you on mute or unmuted, but we won't hear from you.
Yeah, you don't want the program in your ears, right?
Right.
Okay. Yep.
Awesome. See you soon. So that was the control room at News Talk 1010, because in about 4 minutes, we're going to be joined by Jerry Agar on, I kind of mushed his name there, Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010. And what do I have? I have this wonderful, other than the fact that it has a Discord logo on it and it has the old Twitter logo, I need to update this. If you are interested in calling into the show, 416-872-1010 or text 71010, and maybe you'll join us live on the air. I'll leave that on screen so you have the telephone number while we prep, and then we'll do some other questions in the meantime. Is it illegal to have a wooden truck bed? No.
No. As long as it's properly secured. In fact, some modified trucks, as long as they are built properly secured, covers over the two real wheels, and nothing is loose on it, some of them look pretty darn nice.
They're classic trucks. Oh, love old pickup trucks.
Yep.
Question from Conky. Can you go over the rules about passing a stopped police vehicle? So police, fire, ambulance, emergency vehicles, and tow trucks that are at the side of the road with their emergency lighting or their amber lighting system activated, it's called slow down, move over. So if there's an extra lane available, you are to change lanes and slowly pass. If you are unable to get, there's no extra lane, you are to slow down considerably, but there's no specific speed.
No, and you have to slow down no matter what. Even if you do change lanes, you have to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be well under the speed limit.
Yes.
Or the flow of traffic.
Oddly enough, some people would just slow down to the speed limit, considering they've reduced their speed, but that could be 30 kilometers an hour.
Now, that is the slow down and move over law. There also are, if you have a stop police
I just
vehicle,
realized you're currently Jerry. You come move in because you're completely blocking. No one's.
Look at that. If there's a police car out there that is closing a road, and you decide to drive around it, there's another fence right there.
Well, that is a problem.
That's a different one. You know what? I'm probably better looking this way.
I'll tell Jerry. I'll take it off screen for a second. But now so there's other fines. I think it's $4.95 for failing to slow down and move over. I think. I've only laid the charge once, twice, maybe, very rarely. 40 seconds away. I'll put Jerry's face back on the screen. Again, it's 416-872-1010 or text 71010 to ask questions to Jerry. And I'll take this off the screen. We'll get back to your questions in just a few moments. And I'll get back into the middle. Flagging some questions for when we get back. 40 seconds is a lot longer than you'd think. Here we go. Still not hearing anything in case you're...
On the go, take News Talk 1010 Toronto with you. Download, listen, and learn through the iHeartRadio app. Now back to Jerry Agar.
On a daily basis, traffic cop Sean Shapiro at Traffic Services is on TikTok answering traffic questions. And every couple of weeks, we dip in and do it here on the radio. Sean Shapiro, good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Same to you. Good to have you. I was just talking to Councillor Stephen Holliday about City Hall looking at, they haven't decided 100% yet, but they're looking at significantly upping the number of red light and speed cameras out on the streets. How do you react to that?
Well, I personally think that's a great idea. I'm a big proponent of speed reduction and safety. Now, how they would do that, that's a Toronto thing because we don't have, as the Toronto Police, have anything to do with them running that program. But I think it does work. I think cameras that are there all the time does incentivize a reduction in speed.
And I have some people writing to me, Sean. They're very proud of the fact that, oh, well, we know where those cameras are. We go spray paint the lands. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? That's like the guy who drives like he thinks he's Mario Andretti or somebody on the road zipping in and out of traffic. These are the morons that are the reason we have to try and control traffic.
Yeah, and that's a mischief charge. You're getting into criminality now if you're going to go modify those. And oddly enough, we know it's happening because they go and monitor, clean, and maintain. So they're just playing games, but they are putting themselves at risk for criminal charges.
All right, and we're taking questions here at 416-872-1010 on any traffic question or issue that you have. 416-872-1010. Toll free 877-518-5151, 518-5151, and you can text at 71010. In fact, here's a question from Kingston. Is it illegal to pass a police officer if they're going slower and under the speed limit?
Not illegal, but there may be a reason why they're doing it. And if they're like, sometimes we'll do a sweep where we're actually actively moving with our lights on to prevent people from passing. That would be a problem if they did that. But just in general course of driving, no, it's not illegal. Now, if you are passing us and you are speeding, you might get pulled over. You never know.
Okay. Well, if I have to speed in order to pass a cop, then I just think, well, I'm not that stupid. But if I'm out there and the speed limit is 90, and for whatever reason the cop is going 85 and he's in the middle lane and I'm in the left lane and I'm cruising along at speed limit, I'll cruise past him. I've done it many times. Nothing happens.
Perfectly legal.
Yeah. The cops don't own the road.
Well, we like to believe it sometimes, but it's not about owning it. It's just that, you know, if we're doing the right thing and we're setting an example doing the right thing, it's probably a hint that you should do the right thing too.
Yeah. Well, I was going to facetiously say, well, he's going slow because he's on his phone, so he didn't notice.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because it really upsets my viewers to know that police can legally use their cell phones, their computers, and their radios while driving, but nobody else can. And it's that whole concept of public safety. We acknowledge that it's a distraction, but it's one of those things that we have to, measure as to what's priority at the moment.
Here is John from downtown. Go ahead, John.
Hey, good morning, Jerry. Good morning, Sean. I provide security services to a couple of condos in the downtown core. What's going on with the enforcement levels with these vehicles that have these modified mufflers? Because it's quite a problem, and it's happening at early morning hours on any given day. These things are echoing off of each building, waking people up. What are the enforcement levels like on that as we stand here today?
Well, it is one of the number one complaints of Toronto residents, these modified mufflers, and some of them aren't even modified. They're just stock cars that happen to have this burble tune and are set to, like Mustangs, you can change the setting to make it louder with a stock setup. In any case, we are actively stopping and charging people for unnecessary noise. If we find them without a proper muffler, we charge them for that as well. It is obviously something we care about, we're interested in doing, but it's not our number one priority. We focus our efforts on the big four: serious injury and death-causing offenses like speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. So with the resources we have to balance it, and we do our best.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Here is Ernie from Hamilton. Go ahead, Ernie.
Hey, how are you?
We're
My
well.
question has to do with bicycle lanes. Are bicycle lanes considered to be two-way traffic lanes or one-way traffic lanes?
They're one-way
issue
traffic
there-
lanes unless they are marked contraflow. So I've seen people do some wild things on them, but legally they are one way only.
So the issue is when you make a right turn and you're looking left for traffic and you make a right turn and the bicycle is coming down the lane in the wrong direction, who's at fault?
You need to make your best efforts to look and have your head on a swivel, but that person will be driving incorrectly and could be charged for it, and they should be held responsible for it.
Right. Bicyclists just don't know that rule. They just don't understand.
Yeah, they do. They just don't care.
That could be. Thank you very much.
All right, Ernie. Well, along that line, this is what really ticks me off, Sean. It's this new system they've put in place now where I'm coming along Adelaide and I want to turn left on John to come to work, and the light changes and it gives a right of way to the bicycle riders and won't let me turn left. I got to wait for a whole other cycle. Guess what's not there? Bicycle riders. Except yesterday there was one who just went through the red light. So what's the point?
I hear all sorts of stuff, and I've seen a lot of interesting things too. I will say this: there's a lot of good riders, and there's a lot of bad ones, just like there's a lot of good and bad drivers. Hopefully you are blessed with all the good ones when you're on your road next.
No, when it comes to bicycle riders in Toronto, there are a few good ones.
Oh, okay.
Here is Tony down in Downsview. Go ahead, Tony.
Hi, good morning. On several occasions, while hanging a left turn and not having an advanced green, I've noticed and experienced traffic going opposite my direction, but straight, would be somewhat distracted. They would not be moving, so I hang a left because oncoming traffic, albeit one car, is not moving. In one particular instance, I got pulled over by an officer and was advised, it was a warning that it is an unsafe left turn lane change. And I advised, well, the individual coming toward me was not coming, and I saw the opportunity to hang a left because that person did not proceed. And the officer said, hence why it's a warning, please be careful. So I'm wondering, is this a gray area, or is there a law saying you can't hang a left if there's oncoming traffic and they have right of way?
So if the light is just about to turn green or has just turned green, very fresh.
Already turned green. Green.
I'm just explaining to you that if it was just fresh, it just turned, and you say, I'm going to make this turn before the oncoming traffic has an opportunity to go, that's actually stunt driving. We'd suspend your license, take your car for 14 days, and you'd have a whole bunch of problems. If it's that you sat there, gave every opportunity for the other vehicle to go, what's reasonable, and then they still don't go, it's reasonable for you to make that turn in safety. But it is risky because that person could decide to start driving. And a friend of mine called. Apparently his son was in a collision where exactly that scenario happened. Driver wasn't moving. They start making the turn. Driver put down their cell phone, decided to accelerate. Path wasn't clear, and they drove into the back of his vehicle. So it's a riskier situation because there's a lot of assumptions, and a lot of people can't drive.
All right, Tony, thanks for that question, Tony. This is inevitable today, Sean, but this was texted in. What methods should police use to disperse protesters who are blocking roads and disrupting traffic?
That is a complicated question, and I don't have a very good answer because it's not something that's just traffic. That's something that involves other layers of policing and command, and they make decisions to be the safest and not escalate things. But I think they've been doing a very good job of trying to keep the peace, and unfortunately, that also creates some traffic issues.
The Supreme Court says that you not only have the right, you as officers have an obligation to do something about blocked traffic. They're not doing it.
I've absolutely heard that, and I've seen lots of video where there's a lot of unhappy people. I've unfortunately not had the opportunity because I'm not on the road to be out there and experience it, but I would love to see things moving in the city.
Here is Leanne from downtown.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm calling about a question concerning liability for an impact during a parallel park. I was parallel parking into a spot on the north side of Danforth, and here in Toronto. And I've been parking for a long time. I've been driving for 45 years. The lady behind me, who I saw before I commenced my turn into the spot, and she had been also proceeding in a westerly direction. I looked behind me, checked my mirrors, made sure that I could stop. Okay, you know, when you're looking for a parking spot, sometimes you're going slow and people behind you are getting upset. But anyway.
Okay, so you're trying to parallel park. She hit you from behind. That's the question. Sean, what's the answer?
No, she passed me. She was impatient, and I was mid-park, and she struck me as I was completing my park.
Well, the person driving around has to make sure they're clearing your vehicle and going safe. You have an obligation to ensure that you're doing what you're safe. So the investigation would look like at all the factors, and there may be a shared responsibility determined after the investigation. And at the end of the day, the insurance companies are going to make the final decision. You're backing up on a main road, and hopefully
there's no other way to parallel park. You have to back in.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, the person who is accelerating around may have caused that. They would have been making a turning movement, changing lanes, and would hold the majority of liability.
All right. Thanks, Leanne, for your call. Thank you, Sean Shapiro. You're going to continue on TikTok?
Right until 11 o'clock.
At Traffic Services. Thanks very much.
All the best.
This is the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And they're out. That's it for another Jerry Agar segment. I love when we get to connect and do that. It's been a while. This has become a regular thing for quite some time. And, I appreciate that commitment that News Talk and Jerry Agar have had, spending time with us and helping promote what we do here and answering the folks on the radio.
I never get the opportunity to talk to Jerry, so maybe at some point
we should bring you in. Well, yes, because we've had Aaron on the show, who, by the way, is engaged now. I don't know if Jerry knows, but we should tell him. Anyway, thanks, News Talk. We'll see you soon. Oh, you see? News Talk says you should come on sometime. Let's do it. Next time we'll have the sergeant. Okay, more of your questions now, because that's what we do. We talk to you. Okay. Scrolling back, actually, I'm going to scroll way, way back. Way back. Hey, if you're watching on Instagram, we love you, but it doesn't work as well as we like, and that means you may not be able to get your message through. If you'd like to join the rest of us, the widescreen version, go to youtube.trafficcop.ca or go to trafficcop.ca and choose any one of the social media platforms that isn't Instagram. Colby Gray says, hello, officer. Are you fit for duty? I wonder what they're asking. Do you mean that is my fitness level up? Am I capable of being on the road? Am I sober? What is your question? Because fit for duty could be a bunch of different things, and I don't know where you're going with it. Either way, I'm fit for duty. I would have been sent home if I was unfit.
By me.
Yes. Supervisors, they do that sort of thing. Fitness, I weighed myself this morning. I'm not as fit. I'm not. Christmas and New Year's was not good to my my weight. So I didn't. I'm back on track this morning. I'm like I can't even have a Egg McMuffin type thing. Like I'm done. And no breakfast. Okay, moving on. Kayla's back, and we have Northern Pike who says hi everybody. Let's see here. We're trying to scroll back because during the Jerry Agar segment we got a whole bunch of messages, and I want to try and get all y'all. Okay, I think this is pretty. Joe, is it Joe? Joe identifies as not one but two farm animals. That's okay. You're allowed to identify any way you like. Okay, can I drive with a cracked windshield on the passenger side?
No.
But why? It's only a crack.
So not only is your windshield part of the structural integrity of your car, depending on the crack, if it is and my rule of thumb is if it's in anywhere that is the swept area that the windshield wipers would be cleaning, it has to be clear of anything, including cracks in there. Safety, you got to see where you're going. Got to see what's out there.
Yeah, it's a problem. Now, will you get a warning? Will you get a ticket? It's up to the officer's discretion as to how they proceed, but it is not lawful. And you may find yourself being even taken out of service with the right person.
And I've done both.
Now, we have a question from Liz. What if I high beam someone to communicate that I want them to proceed? For example, four-way stop, change lanes in front of me. I'm pretty sure I've been high beamed a TPS car pretty sure I've high beamed a TPS car to let them go first. So is it a problem? Is it technically legal? Is it generally accepted? Is it a momentary thing and everyone understands? Would it be better to wave if instead of high beaming? Will you get a problem? Probably not. But is it technically unlawful?
Technically, by the letter of the law, yes, it is. But no, we understand what you're doing. We understand why you're doing it, and being nice to other and communicating with other drivers, that's perfectly acceptable. If you go over to Europe, all the cars, their horns are connected to their high beams. So if you push your horn, your high beams come on as well. And that's there to communicate with other drivers as well. So, you know what? I think they should have that here.
Let's see. Oh, I also like city and highway horns. They have two-tone horns, so you can give it a meep meep when you're in town, but a when you're on the highway because you need more.
Sorry, what is it? Meep meep?
Chase says, Sergeant Campbell just said that if you had someone rent a vehicle for you to take to your G2, then it would break your rental agreement if they were pulled over. Could the police do anything? HDA?
So, Chase, I said for your G1. So if a G1 license holder went and rented a vehicle, they would not be able to rent it because a G1 is not a full license to drive.
And he's saying to take your G2. So he's saying someone with a G1. So somebody else takes the G1. Mind you, if they want to know that it's only licensed drivers. The rental agreement depicts who can be behind the wheel.
So you have to let everybody know who's going to be driving the car. They have to be over a certain age if that's what the rental agreement says. They have to be properly licensed, and a G1 driver is not a properly licensed driver in the province of Ontario. They would not at any point be allowed to operate a rental vehicle.
But is there a fine for that? Because if they're with a driver who's licensed, they haven't committed an offense, but the renter has violated their agreement, which is with a private company. It does cause some issues, and if you don't have all that insurance, they probably wouldn't cover you if something happened.
Is there a fine for it? Would the police do anything under
Probably
the HCA? No.
But is it a good idea? No.
And if you're kind of breaking the rules when you're going for your license test?
This is Ryan's question. It was from yesterday. I said we'd talk about it. I forgot all about it. Thank you for bringing it up again, Ryan. What was your inspiration to become a cop?
Oh, well, I'm not going to say that I stood on the other side of the bars and looked out and went,
this stinks?
I could probably do that. I don't know. You know what? It's just one of those things that I've always wanted to do. I've always, thought that I could do. I was the kid in public school who watched other kids, pick on the other kids, and I would come to their rescue. And I would be the guy. You want to pick on him? Why don't you pick on me instead?
So you were the protector even at a young age.
It just, that's just the right thing to do, and I've always done that.
I had similar experiences growing up. I was a big kid, and I got in the way of the other big kid who was picking on the little kid. And when you're willing to put yourself out there and protect other people, that's a pretty good indication that you might make a good cop.
And unfortunately, I'm scared of heights, so I couldn't become
Couldn't
a firefighter.
be a fireman. Ladders were out. Betty wants to know if it's legal to squeeze past someone to turn right when there's only one lane. Squeezing past is probably mean riding on a shoulder.
So you cannot pass anybody on the right of the roadway except for one condition. If the person ahead has stopped, signals their intention, come to a full stop, signal their intention to make the left turn, and...
So that's two conditions, because it's an
and you can make the right turn, without leaving the paved portion of the roadway.
If there's a paved shoulder, it would be permitted. If it was a gravel shoulder, it would not.
Yes.
This is good to know. And this is different than saying you're on a multi-lane road, because when I was a kid, I thought multi-lane road, you can't pass anybody by turning into the middle lane. Like if the person's in the left lane camping and at 80 and a 90, could you go 90 in lane 2? Well, you can, but I thought when I was a kid that you couldn't because you can't pass on the right.
Because that was always the fast lane, and you can't pass on the right. But you cannot pass off the roadway. But there is an exception, and that is out there because we can't hold up all the traffic for somebody to sit there and dawdle and make a left turn.
And usually people bring up that case where an officer was going to be turning at an intersection and somebody blew past an officer off duty onto that shoulder at speed, and that person then had a visit from the officer at home to serve a ticket. And in that situation, that person had done. We're not talking about passing safely on the right in the condition. It was just, I see that the guy's going to stop over there. He was not lawful. That was big news at the time. Okay, what's the punishment for driving with a suspended license? Will you get charged for driving with a suspended license? Is there possible jail time?
There is.
There is possible jail time. I don't know what the fine is offhand. I think it's up to $2,000. Maybe it's up to $1,000.
Drive under suspension? I can tell you.
I can't
have
remember.
it here.
I can't remember. Sometimes I remember. Sometimes I don't. We'll go with I can't remember. We'll come back to this one. If my phone is in it's a good question. If my phone is in its holder, is it legal to be on FaceTime? My hands are on the wheel. So, a FaceTime video call is not lawful. Now, technically, if your screen was disabled and the camera was pointed at you, but you couldn't see anything, I don't think that, because you can say, hey, Google, or hey, Siri, make a FaceTime call. But the problem is it doesn't disable your call. So you see a camera, the screen is visible, and that's not lawful.
Right. So not only is the screen visible to the driver, which is an offense, you're not using the handheld communication device using your fingers, but you're looking at the screen, which means it's also careless.
Oh. Now, like I said, if there was a shroud on the phone, I'm making up something here as a solution. If there was a shroud on the phone, but why would anyone do a FaceTime call if they couldn't see? The whole reason, and what would be presented in court is that, well, obviously, you're using FaceTime, and I would pull you over because I see that you're using FaceTime. If it was shrouded, I wouldn't know you were on FaceTime. That's where this is a conversation of, I don't know, I'm going down this rabbit hole. Going on.
All right, going back.
Yes, going back.
Let's go back. So driving under suspension for the first offense, the fine is not less than $1,000 and not more than $5,000. And each subsequent offense is not less than $2,000 and not more than, once again, $5,000. But it could be an imprisonment of a term of not more than 6 months or to both.
Ooh, both.
So the fines and imprisonment. So
I don't think they give enough imprisonment. Just saying.
well, imprisonment costs money.
It does. And
But
it
if
makes
you-
people upset.
But if you can't pay the money,
You have an option.
there's an option.
Well, a lot of people say that this is just a cash grab. The fact that they give you the opportunity to go to jail in lieu of paying, you have options.
There you go.
I say that. I know that's not a good option. Okay, I got 3 points, how to remove them, or how are they going to go away. Demerit points only stay on your license for 2 years from the date of the offense. So let's say you pay the ticket right away, 3 points are added immediately, and they will remain until 2 years of from the offense date. If you put it off in court and it takes you 2 years to get to court, you'll find the guilty will be added. Your conviction will stay for 3 years, but the points will probably not be reflected on your record.
Right. It is from the offense date as opposed to the conviction date, where other things are reflective of the conviction date.
And this is really what people don't realize about points is it's not there for insurance companies to rate your risk. That's based on your convictions. Points are there so you accumulate them, and within a period of time shows a pattern of behavior, and we can then, or the ministry can then suspend your license or send you for remedial or do whatever they do.
Or just take it away outright.
Yeah. But it's totally different motivations, and people get all tied up about points. Yeah, if you're accumulating a lot of them, there's a problem, and you're going to lose your license. But it's not. The points aren't everything. Your convictions are really important, because you can forget your driver's license at home 3 times. That's going to affect your insurance.
Yep.
So.
And that's still a non-driving offense, non-moving.
Well, I grew up thinking it was only moving offenses, but it
Yep.
turns out after speaking to insurance people, they say, well, no. We calculate risk, and if you can't even figure out how to put stuff in your wallet, that's a problem. So it's any offense, even though they may give you some, like they may not some may choose not to include it, but
Yep.
they can. Let's see.
Good morning, Tim.
Tim, yes, Tim. Did I put it on screen? I did.
You did.
Okay. We've talked about this already. Talking about the truck bed. TJLM 2020, it was asked and answered. So, maybe this is a variation. Is it illegal to have a wooden truck bed on a Ford F-250? It's irrelevant, the model.
It isn't, because the early models of the F-250s had a terrible engine. And
So you just don't like the truck?
They're probably still not operational right now.
Oh.
The newer ones are a little bit better.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
How come an e-scooter don't need insurance? Well, Mike, the deal is that if an e-scooter, and if are we talking about an e-kick scooter or e-bike? Well, in any case, if they are qualified, if they meet the requirements of the legislation, they're treated as bicycles. They're given an exclusion from the requirement of insurance and license and so on, because they're treated as bicycles because they conform to safety standards. And those standards require them to go less than 32 kilometers an hour for e-bikes and 24 kilometers an hour or no more than those speeds for e-bikes. It's because they're if they do go faster, they do need insurance. They do need a license. They are motor vehicles, or they were always motor vehicles, but they don't get the protection under the legislation. The exemptions.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people, myself included, that would like to see more done to regulate these because there's a lot of people who are, using them incorrectly and unsafely. And there's no way of really knowing who they are unless you catch them in the act.
Yep. And a modified e-bike operating on a roadway in Ontario is subject to a $5,000 minimum fine.
For no insurance,
if it is modified.
Yeah, because they're suddenly or instantaneously a motorcycle.
Yep.
The unicycles, the one-wheeled devices that we see so many people using, they're prohibited from any road in the province of Ontario. If you've got one of those, be on the lookout for the officer who's there to give you a $5,000 ticket or a ticket that's capable of giving you a $5,000 to $25,000 fine for the no insurance alone, because it's a motor vehicle. In fact, it's a one-wheel motorcycle. Because the description of motorcycle under the Highway Traffic Act says up to 3 wheels. It does not say must have 2. So I'd say it's a motorcycle. Now, it has to have a seat to be a motorcycle, but it's a motor vehicle anyway. And I've seen a lot of these where they crouch down and get lazy and they just sit down. But those things really motor. Really, really motor.
I think they're fun. I think they're amazing. I want to try one.
Private property.
But I'm not going to do it on the road.
That's it. Let's see here. It's 11 o'clock, which means I really got to go somewhere, I think. I haven't received a message of my appointment. But let's see here. We'll see if we can get some good ones here. Promo guy. When turning right or left, would you turn your signal lights on when you turn 10 meters away? Oh, you would give them advance notice. The whole idea of signals is to give advance notice to announce your intention to turn so that people can prepare and know what you're doing. If you wait till you actually start turning, that's too late, in my opinion. Yes. You got it, and 10 meters at 60 kilometers an hour is not far away. You're talking seconds.
Now, I must admit, when I'm sitting in a long lane of left turn only traffic and I'm 30 cars back, am I sitting there with the blinker going and it clicking away? And no, I'm not.
I put earplugs in, it's fine.
Because I'm not making a movement at that point, and I don't have to notify anybody that I'm about to make a movement. When I come up to the intersection, absolutely it's on, and I'll do my movement that way.
A follow-up there. E-scooter, yes, not those bicycles with the weird motor kits people buy and affix to bicycles. Those are absolutely prohibited motorcycles. In the States, apparently, if they're under 50 cc, or in some provinces, no one cares. But here, we care. It's a motorcycle.
Yep, 100%.
Yes. TAC Boss says, U.S. laws are different than every state. Is it the same way in Canada? Yes. Every province in Canada has their own provincial traffic code.
Traffic laws, yes.
But criminal code, we're the same. Whereas in the States, every state has different criminal law.
Penal codes.
Penal codes?
Penal codes.
There's federal law for some. It's really, really wild. Like mail fraud, federal. Murder,
drugs,
state.
Drugs?
Is drugs?
Federal.
Well, they have federal and they have state drugs. It's a totally different system. I am happy that I know the one that I know, and I'm happy that I don't really need to know, other than don't break the law, what it is in the States, because it's confusing. And I don't know how you deal with all the borders and state and city. Everyone does different. It's very confusing. So I wonder if that'll ever change.
Courts, even in Canada, different laws, different courts, different. Mm-hmm. One of our courthouses was a provincial court and a traffic court and a bylaw court and a federal court.
Well, that's not that confusing. But TAC Boss, very interesting stuff. If you want to, I'm assuming by your name you might be in law enforcement. If you are and you want to talk about it, maybe we should talk about things. Send me a message and we'll talk, because I'd love to know what jurisdiction police officers are in elsewhere and what their laws are. And I think it would make for an interesting discussion. Elmo be pimpin'. I saw the TikTok recently about eating in the car. Is that not hands-free ticket? So the discussion was that it is not against the law to eat and drive in Ontario. Other provinces and states may have laws that specifically say it's not legal. However, here, you can, as long as it doesn't negatively impact your ability to safely operate your vehicle. If you're all over the road, it's careless driving. So It depends, but it's not. Like if you put a Werther's mint in your mouth, it's not illegal. If you take a bite out of a French fry, no. If you're eating soup,
I was about to say, what about your oatmeal in the morning? And you get your spoon and
I have full on seen people have a 3-course meal. I
100% careless driving.
Oh yeah, I had a guy who drove his cube van into a giant cement truck. Just the cement truck was one of those big jobby, like 4 axles, 5 axles. And it was dragging this cube truck down the street. Didn't even realize it even hit. That's how heavy it is. And when I investigated, the guy said, "Oh yeah, my brakes don't work. That's not me. It was the truck." And I looked down on the ground, and there's a box of rice and peas on the ground he had been eating while he was driving, and that went to the report.
The brakes don't work if you don't press them.
It's funny how that works.
Yep.
Or if you're going too fast and don't press them in time.
Yep.
Either way, the brakes worked great. I tested them. Let's see here. Is it true? This is Cassandra. Is it true that anyone with a handicap parking can park for free on streets? So, if you have an accessible permit that's issued by the City of Toronto, we have certain, or actually issued anywhere. We accept them from other places. If you have an accessible permit, you can park on street parking for free in the pay and display in the no parking zone. But anywhere else, no stopping, no standing, you will be ticketed. There's no exemption there.
And towed.
If you're on street parking, that is good for 3 hours. You are extended to 24 hours, which I thought was pretty neat. So there are some benefits, but you actually have to go apply and have doctor sign off on you having them. It doesn't have to be visible. A lot of people say, well, you walk just fine. You're fine. You don't deserve to have. No. There's other reasons for people to have these things. It's up to the doctor's discretion as to whether or not they meet the criteria for applying for one. If you need one, there are forms online. You can get all that information.
Now, what about motorcycles?
They don't have to pay in pay and display.
They don't.
But they have to adhere to all conditions and all signage.
Yes, and no parking zones. They're subject to those as well.
Absolutely. There's no exemption there. And there's no accessible permit for motorcycles that I'm aware of because they would go missing.
Absolutely.
You could technically put one, but it wouldn't be there when you got back.
And back when the pay and display was a thing, when you actually got a piece of paper that you had to display, how do you display that on a motorcycle?
Well, that's why I changed. But
that would go missing as well.
Yes, and people would put it on their car, and they'd be like, I got free parking. Just the motorcycle gets a ticket. We talked about this. Is it illegal? We talked about that. If my phone is, no, they're asking the same question multiple times. We are not at high-speed response. It's a lot of delays here today with the radio and whatnot. What do we got here? Michael wants me to talk about the protests and things, but there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of feelings. I mean, we talk about big feelings in my house with my kids. And there's a lot of big feelings going on. I don't talk about politics here. I stick to traffic stuff, and it's unfortunate that people aren't getting along. That's ultimately where we're at, where I'm at in terms of watching what unfolds on our streets. And I don't think it's good for anybody.
No, I don't think what's happening overseas is good for anybody. I don't think what's happening here is good for anybody either.
Yeah.
So
we got so many of the same questions, and I got to go because I've got an appointment. But we have a air-cooled red fax. Did I read that right?
Yeah, he was. That person was on.
Yes, he was.
Yep.
And he says, we did it. We finally having a little snow in the eastern townships of Quebec. It's not much, but still. So does that mean you can hop on a trailer and do your thing?
You know what? Let me know when there's enough. I'll come for a visit.
Sounds good. You are now the official notifier of snow, and then the Sarge will come for a visit.
I do believe that the FMCQ has one area about 300 kilometers just north and east of Montreal that is open. Mount Valin, I believe, is open. But I think it is very, very busy right now since that's the only place that's open.
Now, Glamorous says, my computer in my car would prove otherwise if this was to happen. People check your car for this. I don't know what we're talking about. There's no context to this comment that I can see. Maybe I missed it earlier, but I don't know what you're talking about. Listening to beep, beep, beep on the scanner. How fun is this? Big OG says, is this a battle to see who recedes first?
Oh, my goodness. I'm winning.
It's all good. But, it's not a race. I don't normally have this much hair. This is very unique for me. This is my hippie look. And air-cooled red fact says, Google does it too on Android. Do they have better jokes, though? That's the question. I think that's what we're talking about, jokes.
Yes. I have done
Android
that.
from the good sergeant to the wrong sergeant. That's it. I am boy mom you've been discredited now that you've identified yourself as an Android user. My favorite morning show, air-cooled cat daddy. Well, now we have 2 air-cooled users. This is becoming a thing. No, that wasn't air-cooled. That was air. Was it? Was it?
Yeah, it was air cooled.
Yeah, there's 2 air-cooled users. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Do you not set up a spot check just after an intersection, giving a citizen a choice? No. There's no choice. Isn't ride check soliciting ticket, or did they change that rule? So a ride spot check is an acknowledged infringement on your charter rights. And however, because people said, well, that's not right. And then the courts determined that it was absolutely right and allowable based on the fact that it's for the betterment of society as a whole, for the safety of all. So, yeah, it's not fun. People get caught because of it, but it's because they're breaking the law that they get caught. And to momentarily have an interaction with police is not seen as a violation. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, bro got tired of running after people. I'm assuming, asking why I'm here. I'm here because I actually got injured. That's how this all started. I got injured on a motorcycle crash, and now I think that regardless of what was going on, this is a worthy thing. That even if I was good to go, I think we'd still somehow manage to do this.
Yep, maybe not as often. Maybe we'd only do it when time would permit, but maybe we wouldn't do it from here. Maybe we'd do it from somewhere else.
From the road. That would be very cool. Awesome guys from Cordy72, thank you. And they say thank you. I say thank you for the thank you. They look the same. Look at their foreheads. Bring on Officer Arsenault on the show. We've talked about it. I've run into him a number of times. He's retired now. He's no longer a police officer. He works in other areas, but he's still a big advocate of road safety and policing, and he does a lot of content on his channels, and who knows, maybe we'll do that one day. Can you imagine people watching while driving? I have seen many. I mean, I can't imagine them watching me while driving, but I can imagine because I've seen people watching Netflix, IPTV while they're driving. I've seen all sorts of insanity.
We did have one person say that they were driving while watching us one time.
I think they were joking. I think there was an LOL in there. So Lambley says, I actually find this all very helpful because I've been scared of the police since I was 6. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. Yes, we're here about traffic and talking about things, but we're really here about everything, and we're developing a relationship. We know each other now. Honestly, this has been a huge thing. I've had so many people reach out, similar but not the same message to what you're saying. And yeah, we get to tell people that we're real people. We get to talk about donuts and dad jokes and all sorts of stuff. So I'm so glad that you see benefit here and that you feel that this is a positive thing for you. Let's see here. We got Sugar Glider. Doesn't the Highway Traffic Act start that you need to be caught in the act of committing on and on by we got cut off there.
I think I know where you're going.
By an officer, not a camera. So this is probably when we were on the air with Jerry. In fact, I think it is. The deal is that did you want to cover that?
So I was going to say there's 3 different situations. The camera is an owner liability offense. There's no points. It doesn't go against the driver's license. It doesn't go against the person, just the owner in the vehicle. Yes, we are the witness if we catch you doing something, and we will go to court. But there are other situations as well. We're not around for every collision that happens. So we don't even have to be there to lay a charge. We can go there, gather the evidence, speak to witnesses, or just on the evidence alone, lay a charge. So no, we don't have to be there at all. But the owner liability offenses, I think there's going to be more and more of them put in place where owners of vehicles involved in collisions may be failed to remain held liable for that. Owners that are doing, allowing their vehicle to be used in certain ways are going to be liable for that as well.
Not all charges require an officer to catch them in the act. Information and evidence can be provided. Video evidence very often can be provided. And specifically on those traffic cameras, like you said, specific charges were developed to be owner liability. It's not even the same charge. You run a red light in front of a red light camera, it's a different charge under the Highway Traffic Act than that of one that I would lay as a police officer, which comes with consequences like, points and big money. Oh, the big money still comes, but not the points. Yeah. And Europe doesn't do it that way. They actually charge the owner with points. And they can identify the individual, because they take the picture from the front. They just do it differently, and maybe we need that. Might change the behavior more. What would you recommend as a phone holder, suction cup on glass, or dash? I use a cup holder mount. In other words, my phone just needs to be secure. I don't need it to be seen so much. I need it to be secure. Window is infringing or prohibiting me from seeing through it.
I was about to say, as soon as it goes up on the window and it blocks your view of any part going forward, you're going to take it for that.
And you may or may not. I've seen some good ones that have the long, what's it called, gooseneck that comes down and the phone is actually below the dash. I've seen vent mounts. I've seen all sorts of things. I think the most secure one is a cup holder. The problem is it takes up a cup holder. And then your wife says, where am I supposed to put my cup? So I bought a cup holder that has a phone mount on an arm that's offset and still has a cup holder.
Of course you did.
I found it. It was an Amazonian thing.
And I have seen some people not so smart make the decision to put their cell phone right there on the window, right there.
Yeah, really bad. I've seen them on the left near the A pillar. I've seen them on the steering wheel. Somebody makes a dumb product where they put it right over the airbag. So when the airbag deploys at 200 miles per hour, it then propels the cell phone, which is sometimes made of titanium or metal, into your glass, into your face. It's brilliant.
Wonderful. I have a feeling they're probably meant for handlebars.
No, it's
Not
one that goes
steering
over a steering wheel. It's like specifically designed to go over. It's stupid.
Wow.
It's like the stupidest product I've ever seen, and it's all
Wow.
over Instagram. Come buy this stupid thing. Okay. And why do you need it there? Like it's for people watching TV and hiding it. Mind you, I have seen it all. I've seen people on iPads driving cars, so I shouldn't be so surprised. Is there a law for playing music in a car too loud? If the music is so loud that I hear it outside, if it's filling the streets and vibing or not vibing with certain audiences, if it's too loud, it's too loud. Just like an exhaust system or honking your horn, you get a ticket for it.
If it's affecting other people, it's too loud. If you are on a highway and nobody is around and you want to crank your music and nobody hears it,
Well,
go right ahead.
Even if your windows are opening with the Doppler effect in play, no one is hearing it.
Yep.
It's really not much of an issue. They may get a zap of some loud, but it's probably not an issue.
There
City
are
streets.
certain days that I totally enjoy cranking up the tunes.
I'm old. I don't do it anymore. I have no interest in
No,
it.
I totally do. But I don't do it to affect other people.
Not out giving window tint tickets today. Shocker. I actually don't go out to give tickets at all, as much as I'd love to, because I'm all about safety. No, I'm here serving you through education. Let's see here.
I bet you his car is tinted.
I'm possibly
Guessing?
got a ticket for it.
Yeah.
Is it legal turning left on a left turn lane into the rightmost lane of a 2-lane road?
No.
That's an improper term.
Yep.
Turn
Proper turn dash multi-lane highway is what is going to be written on the ticket when I give it to you.
There you go. Radic, good morning. Just want to say that I'm not against peaceful and lawful protests, but is it illegal for passengers to wave large flags out of moving vehicles? There's a couple of issues there.
It depends.
It does depend. There's an issue of obscuring the driver's view, side mirrors, front window. That's a problem. Insecure load, that could be just that's unsafe to have a large flag sticking out of a thing
you're
only
holding
being
on to
held.
it?
It's not mounted.
Nope.
So insecure load, especially a flag that is carrying the wind, that could be a projectile, a large piece of wood. We're talking about something that is not safe. And if it's touching anybody else or interfering with anyone else, you have another potential issue.
Most people that are hanging flags out the window are doing it on a pole, or they're sitting out the passenger window.
Seatbelt offenses.
Holding it up. All those things go into it. The act itself, just in the simplest form, is no. It's not unlawful.
It's the combination of things. And I see people on television standing out of sunroofs, seatbelt offense. If they're doing that on the highway, I would say it's unsafe or dangerous driving, potential criminal at times. There's a lot of potential if you want to go there. But is the goal to keep people safe? Is the goal to what is the goal? We want to keep people safe. That's the ultimate thing. But if we wanted to go down the road of nitpicking everything, we certainly can. I've noticed red light cameras will take photos of cars making right turns on rolling stop. That's because you have to stop for red lights. It's not a rolling stop. There's no such thing as a rolling stop. There's stop and not stop.
You know what? You can come to a complete stop before the white line. You can make sure the roadway is clear. And if allowed, you can make a right turn on the red when it is safe to do so. That's it. That's your exemption from a red light.
Mm-hmm.
I see an awful lot of people come to court for red light tickets and say, but I was turning right. But you didn't
I
stop.
watch people daily roll through, not even slowing down. They're doing 15, 20K around a corner. Like it's ridiculous. And I love this story.
Oops. That's for you.
Yes, but I want to ignore it. How do I press the button? There it is. It was hiding. The deal is that people are. My favorite podcast episode was the one with the Toronto enforcement, the automated enforcement group, and the guy said, I forget his name, escapes me at the moment. Someone got 4 red light camera tickets they made 4 laps of the street. They just didn't stop for any of them. There's nowhere where a red light means don't stop.
Right.
Nowhere.
Not even for us or fire trucks or any emergency vehicle. We have to come to a complete stop first.
I love Elmo B. Pimpin says, roll and stop isn't a stop, and you couldn't be more right. Thank you. I appreciate you. Colby Gray really has a thing about hair, or he's really into us. I don't know, because he can't stop talking about us.
What was he saying?
He says, never seen so much hair in my life.
Hair?
I
It's
I
a
don't know.
severe lack of hair is what's
Well,
going on
no.
here.
It's facial hair. He's jealous.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. Okay. Have you guys ever heard of ghost police car in Chicago, police car that are left parked with lights? Some police services in the GTA do this, where they take a police car, they leave it at a set somewhere, and it appears that you're doing enforcement. People, oddly enough, do the right thing when they think there's a consequence attached. I think it's a great idea.
I love it.
I think we should put police cars. There used to be cardboard cutouts, and those I thought were creative, but now they've actually amped up to a full-on police car. Chris has a serious question, but I don't know if they've asked it. Caught going 179 on the 410. What are the chances I beat that? Probably low. It's 179.
179? Why did you have to go 179?
Well, he probably had to go to the bathroom, or maybe he really wanted to go see his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no excuse. Will police act on my dash cam traffic videos?
Yes, we can.
It depends on what's on there, but absolutely. And in fact, even if it isn't enough to lay charges, it's enough to start a file. You make a report. We can do it online. If it happens to the city of Toronto, you can go online, tps.ca, and we have a form for that.
We have minimum things that we have to prove, though, and before we send somebody to court. We have to be able to go into court and say the date, the time, the location, the driver, the positive identity of the driver. Why it couldn't have been somebody else doing it?
But if we don't have enough to lay a charge, and we catch somebody at the side of the road, we pull up that search, and it says, oh, on this date and time, an unknown driver was operating this motor vehicle doing exactly what we just saw this person. It's a pattern of behavior.
Oh, yeah.
And it just helps us in court. I see cops speed all the time. Do they have hair like this? Because it's the same person with the hair. Yeah, cops are legally permitted. They're exempt under the HTA from speed. They're allowed to exceed the speed limit in the lawful execution of their duties. So, yes, we do often exceed the posted speed limit.
We talked about this yesterday. We're driving down the highway.
Colby wasn't there.
Most
know
people
this.
would come in behind us would not be doing something wrong as they pass us if we're doing the speed limit, and they were as well. But we get to catch up to them and watch them do stuff that they get caught for. And in the end, it just makes it safer for you.
Yes. I am.
Are you?
Froyo wants to know if cyclists should have to be licensed to use the road. I don't think it's going to happen. In fact, the Toronto website says it's not going to happen. It's been reviewed to determine it's not. They don't want to prevent people from getting around. They don't want to create access or barriers to access and transportation. But you are eligible for tickets under the HTA on a bicycle, on a vehicle.
Licensing, I probably would say no. Held to account? Yes.
Hockey Dad says stunt driving equals guilty until proven innocent.
Well, there are administrative penalties that happen right at the roadside to stop that behavior from continuing.
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice, or you have an opportunity to take that to court if you actually weren't doing that.
Mr. Wang is tall, and is there a way to avoid drilling holes to put a front plate on legally? The best way that I can suggest is tow hook adapters, if that's an option for you. They're not illegal.
Like a zip tie?
No, tow hook adapter being the tow hook on most vehicles where there's a cap. There's adapters that screw into that hold the plate on either the left or right-hand side in a conspicuous position at the front of the vehicle, meeting the requirements under the HTA. that would be the best option if you have no other place and you are adverse to drilling holes. But zip ties are a good way to go with a drill. Maybe not in your Ferrari. People are adverse to paint chips. And
There is a Tesla solution, which is double-sided tape. The only negative to that is you may not have your license plate, and it may come.
Well, that's the problem. That's why
loose.
so many of them. So Tesla does a really piss poor job of putting it on the front of the vehicle. I will say this: I've seen third-party aftermarket stuff that is a system like a push bar, but just for the license that goes back to the frame, comes out and sticks up, and it doesn't involve the body at all. And I don't know how safe it is, but I've seen it. So depending on your vehicle, there's a couple options, but I think the toe hook adapter is a good one, personally.
Not in your front windshield.
No. The Ontario Shuriken, as I like to call it, is a dangerous projectile in the event of a collision. In fact, so many things in your car. If you knew how much damage items in your motor vehicle could cause after a collision, you'd probably have nothing in there, which is ideal. But animals, bags, picture your book bag when you were in school. If that was being tossed around as you spun down the road and it hit your head, do you think it could hurt you? It would hurt you. A friend of mine was driving when he rolled his car and he had a Diet Coke in his center console, which the entire vehicle was coated in Diet Coke. Things move around. It's not just a static, everything moves. I got rear-ended. Everything in my trunk, and I drive an SUV, everything in my trunk was in the back seat.
I got hit in an intersection by an impaired driver a couple of years ago, leaving here from work, and my trailer hitch, which was underneath my back seat in my pickup truck, so the receiver was underneath in the storage compartment under the seat, came out and went flying past me as this happened.
I got rear-ended, and I found a challenge coin that I had lost for 3 years in my truck. It was stuck under the seat somewhere. It was in my footwell. I was so happy. I called the guy because I was delivering it to somebody. I found your challenge coin. Can you drive in other provinces with a G2 license? The answer is yes.
But you must follow the conditions that are on your license. If you don't abide by those conditions, you can be charged.
Absolutely. I think we're done. Dad joke.
Okay.
I got fired from Pepsi because I tested positive for Coke. That's worthy. That's worthy of sound effects.
Yep.
Is it possible to ask why I'm pulled over by the police? Sure. Yeah. In fact, usually we're very open about it. I don't make guessing contests. I just, I pulled you over because you were speeding. That's it.
Usually, well, all the time, I will tell you. But I will tell you usually after you provide your documents to me.
Yeah, we don't argue until, because people say, no, I wasn't. Okay, first, I'm going to start with your ID, and then I'm going to tell you exactly why.
First of all, you're obligated to provide me with this. After that, let's have a conversation about what's going on.
Is that Tom Segura? Who are we talking to? I don't know who Tom Segura is, but so that we know for either us. Neither one of us are Tom.
No.
In your opinion, are the road rules that you think are just bonehead ideas? What is it? Are there road rules that I think are bonehead ideas? I don't think there's any that I'm offended by. I mean, they're all pretty logical.
Yeah, I think there should be more road rules. I think they got rid of some road rules that actually were beneficial. I don't know. Most rules of the road, most laws, most regulations are put in place because somebody somewhere did something that hurt somebody, caused damage, injury, whatever. And that's usually why it's there. Or the government needs money.
I don't have any that I don't have any that I'm. Sorry, I got a text to say.
Easy for you to say.
Yes.
He squirrels a lot.
No, I got a text about my appointment, which might get canceled. So, yeah, I don't remember. I lost my train of thought. Oh, well, tomorrow will come back. No, well, I'm not here tomorrow. I've seen cops turn on their sirens just to pass a red light, then turn off their sirens many times. Yes, you would. And for good reason.
I do it quite a lot. Because if I'm going somewhere in a hurry, it's sometimes safer and easier for me to travel somewhere without my lights and sirens going on.
However,
but to get through a red light, because I'm going somewhere in a hurry, because it's a dangerous situation, I must have my lights on and I must have my siren on and I must pass through the intersection safely.
However, everyone has allegedly seen a police officer do that just to go to Tim Hortons.
Well, if Tim Hortons is getting robbed, that's probably a good thing to do. You don't have your lights and sirens going the whole time, letting the robber run away.
There's that too. But then everyone says, well, then they just got online in front of me at the Tim Hortons, which I think is ironic that everybody on the internet has had this experience, which I don't actually believe. But I will tell you that there is a potential or a possible reason for that. If I'm going to a call, hot, 911, lights and sirens, or through an intersection, and then the radio says we have enough officers on scene, all other officers slow down. I'm going to slow down. My heart rate is probably pounding out of my chest. There's a lot of stress. I'm probably going to pull into the first place I see to have a break and and have a coffee or a bathroom or whatever. It is totally reasonable, and that's the only reason I can see why that would happen. It happens all the time. We have a lot of police officers. Everybody for an assist call goes lights and sirens or as quickly as possible.
And the first one or two arrives, takes care of the situation, tells everybody, we got it.
Yeah.
You can slow down. Now, on top of that, people like me, supervisors, we are obligated to review officers' body cameras and in-car cameras. Every time we turn the lights on, our in-car camera goes on, and it captures 30 seconds before we turn the lights on or turn the siren on. If I see somebody doing that, then they're going to be answering to me, and then police act charges. They'll get documented for doing that, and they may face Highway Traffic Act charges because they're not going through the intersection properly.
I've had a friend, a police officer, a couple, not that many, but I've got, so a friend of mine was a Toronto police officer. He's since gone to other service. He went to assist an officer, and he didn't stop for a stop sign, the one right in front of the station. And he was documented 4 hours or 8 hours for it. Mm-hmm. We have to follow the rules that we have to follow, and the rules that we're exempt from, we're legally exempt from. But we are reviewed. We are the most scrutinized industry on the planet, I think more so than doctors and lawyers. And everything we do is recorded, and so many agencies looking at us. If we do something wrong, we are made an example of.
And held to account.
Absolutely.
As we should be.
I agree. Are other countries' driver's licenses recognized in Ontario, not asking about U.S. licenses?
Depends.
It does depend. There are majority are. There are some that are not. www.trafficcop.ca. If you go to the bottom, there are links. Those links will bring you to a page that talks about drivers or newcomers and visitors to Canada. It talks about each provincial requirement and what's allowed, what's not allowed in terms of licenses. So.
And your license may not be, on its own, may not be allowed to operate over here. But if you combine that with an international driving permit, which is really just a interpretation card for languages in different for licenses in different languages, you may be able to drive on the power of your own license with that interpretation card.
It is all about know before you go. Don't assume. People really, because for instance, the international driving permit must be issued by your home country prior to your arrival. So that's something you have to come with. If you come here and go, I want to rent a car, and they say, where's your IDP, international driver permit, you say, I don't have them, but I have my license, and they may say yes, they may say no. So, and then you have another problem if they say yes and we say no. Then there's charges. It's bad. I would love to keep going. We've been going for an hour and a half, and I have to go. So, I have to go downstairs. It's not a bathroom thing. Have a wonderful day. I will play the Song of Songs for your enjoyment, but we'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend.
You're not here tomorrow? I am. But I won't be here.
Fun.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
So first things first, I'm trying to get into the Telegram group, and I believe telegram.trafficcop.ca is going to take you to our chat, because Michael said he put a joke that is too long No, he didn't put it up. Okay. Maybe we'll deal with it on Monday if he sends it later. Quote of the day. Kayla Draconis posts, quote of the day, half the lies they say about me aren't true. Yogi Berra. You got a thing with Yogi Berra, man, or a book of Yogi Berra quotes. And he also follows with a dad joke. What did the tiger say when looking at the tightrope walkers? Now that's what I call a balanced meal. It's not bad. Let's see here. We talked about that. We got that. Okay, we're done. Have a wonderful weekend. See you on Monday, 10 a.m. We do it all again. Yeah, but tomorrow I am posting the podcast that I edited today with Deputy Chief Larry Coco from Toronto Fire talking about e-bikes. So stay tuned. It won't be on TikTok. It'll only be on YouTube and all the other platforms because I can set that up automatically. Have a good one.